we got Dan Docimo. Woo! Now it's stand-up comedy. I don't know how this mic stand works. That's something I learned. Another thing I learned recently is that I learned that Charles Manson died. But right after I learned that Charles Manson died, I learned that I've been confusing Charles Manson with Jim Henson for like my entire life. For those of you who don't know who Jim Henson is, he created the Muppets. And for those of you who don't know who Charles Manson is, he didn't, as I have recently learned. He didn't create the Muppets. That's mostly what people remember him for, is not creating the Muppets. He also had a cult or something that killed people. I don't know the full story. It was no one I knew, but that was his second biggest thing, was being evil. But yeah, it was weird. My friend told me hey, did you hear Charles Manson died? I was like, oh, that's terrible. He was like, what? I was like, dude, what an inspiration. For the kids. And you don't get to say shit like that when you look like me. Because just looking at me, I might believe that. I'm not the uncreepiest looking dude. Luckily, my friend was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, dude, the Muppets. He's like, that was Jim Henson. And so right after I learned that I've been confusing Charles Manson and Jim Henson for my entire life, I learned that Jim Henson's been dead for years. That was a rough day for me. I learned that an inspiration I had as a little kid was dead. And then I learned that that was actually a serial killer cult leader. And then I learned that the actual inspiration has been dead for a long time. That was rough. That was rough. I went to Starbucks recently. This is a different story. In case you can't tell. I didn't go to Starbucks I'm fucked up about Charles Manson. Just give me a beer. No. I went to Starbucks recently. I was like, do you guys have any peppermint tea? And she was like, what? And I was like, no, you've heard of this. I promise you. Do you have any peppermint tea? And then she got her boss. She was like, do we have any peppermint tea? And her boss was like, yes. And so then he shows her where it is, and she gets the tea bag and some hot water and starts to make tea. In her defense, it's really hard to make tea. There's 2 ingredients. So, and she gives me the tea and she goes, sorry, I was just confused because we don't call it peppermint here, we call it Mint Majesty. First of all, what are the odds that you actually didn't know what I was talking about? What the fuck is peppermint tea? And second of all, if I cared what you called it, I would have called it that. You know? Oh well. Fuck it. So I'm a charming guy. I've dated a few people. One thing I've learned from dating people is I find myself kind of wishing that I could take traits from different people I've dated and combine them. Right now, I think the perfect girl would be if you could take my current girlfriend's sense of humor and combine that with how much I loved my last girlfriend. That would be like, wow. Because she'd be really funny. And I would love her. No, I do. I'm a big fan of there already was a stool here. Oh, God. It's not wooden, though. We're just gonna, we're not worried about it anymore. So, I very much like my current girlfriend. You could say I'm a big fan. We've been together for like a year and a half. And when you're together that long, people put like pressure on you. They start saying like, so, is there, is there maybe a future there? I didn't mean to do a Kermit the Frog impression. R.I.P. Charles Manson, R.I.P. But they do, they're like, is there a future there? Do you see a future there? And I don't know how to respond to that politely, because no. But you can't say that. But and it's not that there isn't one, I just don't see one right now. I don't plan very well. I'm wearing this. I don't plan well. Here's how well I plan. I sleep on a couch in my own dorm room because I forgot to bring sheets to college. And then I went home for Thanksgiving, and I came back and I woke up on the couch yesterday morning and I was like, it would have been a good idea to grab some sheets. So that's how well I plan. So, there might be a future there. I might end up spending the rest of my life with this girl, particularly if I die very soon. It's just mathematically more likely that way. But I found out a way to answer that question. I say, there is a future there. This relationship will last, at least as long as it takes me to work up the motivation to go get all the shit I left at her apartment. You guys seem really sad. I'm kidding. You know what? Fuck it, never mind. I was driving one day, different story, and I saw this sign that said DUI enforcement area. Isn't that everywhere? That sign is just for drunk people. It should say hey, if you're drunk, just keep it together for a couple miles. You'll be all right. Chew some gum. You got this. So, you know how sometimes a professor will assign a paper and they'll be like, I don't really believe in page limits. The syllabus says 10 to 12, but I'm not gonna be mad if it's 8, as long as it's good. What a crock of shit. You just made the new page limit 8, which means I'm shooting for 7.5. And I think that mentality is exactly why I can't be a pediatric neurosurgeon. Because people would bring their kid in for brain surgery and they'd be like, Dr. Docimo, we really hope that he makes a full recovery and that he can get back to doing all of his schoolwork and maybe back into playing sports. But if he pulls through, that's really all we can hope for. And as soon as I heard that, I'd be like, fuck it, I'm aiming for not dead. I'll bring this kid back to the brink of existence. I'll come out of the operating room in 15 minutes. He's fine. He's fine, he's gonna be fine. Probably gonna be a no on the sports, but they'll be like, well, will he at least have a normal lifespan? I'll be like, I'm shooting for 7.5. Thank you very much. I'm Dan Docimo. You guys have been awesome.